Hi, I'm Riley for V-Cycling News, and this is the MoonRiders Tour, Stage 6, Dublin, individual time trial. And I'm joined tonight by Ross, once again on the commentary. He's going to help me out. And Ross is here to fill in some of the details. He's one of the MoonRiders. How are you doing, Ross?
I'm good. It's pretty cold here again in Dublin. I'm in Dublin real time, so nice cold evening. Hopefully people aren't finding it as cold in their turbo rooms tonight. But they've got an interesting course here tonight. Would you like me to tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, of course. Love to hear something about it.
Yeah, so I decided to model this loop basically on the 1998 Tour de France Prologue. So it was about 5.6 kilometers. Do you know who won that stage that day?
No.
No, it was one of your compatriots. It was Chris Boardman, of course. He did it so it was about 5.6 kilometers. We've extended the loop slightly, so you'll see there's one technical turn in this course. It's the only one that you really kind of can save energy on. The rest, you'll be able to power straight through on this course. But this 180 just forces it to be a loop. His average speed that day, Chris Boardman, was 54 kilometers an hour. Do you think will anyone be able to achieve that tonight?
Well, I think there's a possibility. If nobody's got to brake and worry about conditions, etc. But I mean, that is some going.
Yeah, no, and he was on a TT bike. No TT bikes in RGT just yet. But I would think the competition is so tight here at the top of this leaderboard that there'll be a lot of motivation to try and push on. I missed the last stage. I left you solo, so maybe you can update me on what's happened since Monday.
Well, there was some interest in the last stage. Gav was looking strong, but then there was a little bit of attacking. The MoonRiders seemed like they were playing some tactics. They managed to distance Gav, and we had a really good result. In fact, I think I can bring those straight up now. So we've got the gold jersey.
Slim margins.
Very tight, and it is coming down to this fact of the 4 out of the 6, your best 4 counting. And
so Riley, whenever I look at these, as you mentioned, it's 4 out of 6. I see at the minute, Gav has a 141 excluded. He also has a 165 that could possibly fall out. Do you think, depending on the results here, is there a clear favourite here between Wouter and Gav? I'm trying to wonder what score falls out. Have you had any thoughts on this?
I was trying to work it out, and it's really tight. There won't be any teammate play in this one, so I have a feeling that Gav's got a strong chance on this, but it's got to be a strong race by him.
Yeah, well, I was very impressed with him on Monday night. I said it on the stream, he looked like a time trialist to me. Just really high, steady pace. So this could be perfectly suited to him. But as we know, Wouter seems to be able to do everything. I had a look at the results from the Pacific time earlier today. So I'd be expecting these guys, they have to cover this loop 3 times tonight. About 9 minutes roughly per loop.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging for them. We've got just a moment now before the race starts. We'll flick through the rest of the results. So we've got the silver jersey too.
Yeah, Steinle's having a great performance there in the silver jersey. He's got a big lead. He's 3rd overall. I don't think he'll stay a silver rider for long.
No, I think he's been lucky to be counted in this category. I think if he'd done more racing on RGT, he would definitely have been in the gold category.
I think so. And then we have, I must mention, Ryan Dummer here in 2nd place. He had, I think it was in the 4th stage, you can see he's had no result. I think he had a technical issue. So I think that's the benefit of this 4 out of 6. It allows for these technical issues. And then 3rd place, Francois Eker. I think he could have been contending for the overall in silver, but I think he's been playing a kind of supporting role for MoonRiders as they try and win the gold jersey with Wouter.
Yeah, he's been playing that supporting role really well. I think he also had a bit of an issue on stage 3, that's why he's not got a result there himself. I think it might have been something that happened in real life rather than a technical, but yeah, he was supposed to have attended in stage 3 as well, I think, and done his domestic duties to the best of his ability.
Yeah, and I'm just looking down that list as well. Like Stephen Brearley, he was in that lead group on stage 4. That was a very select group. So very impressive riding from him. And Henry Farrell, okay, he's missed 2 stages and maybe been playing a bit of a team game, but a great all-rounder. It's high standard even in the silver at the minute.
Yeah, and Henry Farrell, he can always comment that, you know, he did 300 kilometres at the weekend, so he maybe has a little bit of an excuse he can lean back on. Gonna have to jump quickly into the mountain jersey. So, if we go to that one. There we go. Mountain jersey concluded now.
So congratulations to Gav Ash, well deserved, been very consistent the whole way through.
Woods has got a silver there, and Steenley in with a bronze. Casper, even though he's only raced a couple of races, he was just outside of the podium there. And very, very quickly, just see the Sprinters jersey. Got points tonight in the Sprinters jersey. And I think we'd best head down to the tracks. It won't be too long before they set off.
No, well, as you mentioned that, when they set off, I wonder, have people tactically logged on late so that they start a little later and have carrots to chase, and they can maybe see what times their rivals are doing?
That's actually a really good point.
So we can see Derek Bucock off here on the line. A very strong start by our Spanish Liendo here. I don't think he's going to hold those watts the whole way. I hope he's going to pace this well. So he's just rounded College Green, and he's going to be cycling on to Merrion Square here. And you can see this course is a loop. There are mainly 90-degree bends, but they've been smoothed out quite well using the Magic GPX. So you should be able to keep the power on for most of the bends the whole way. You shouldn't have to ease off the pedals. The only real exception is the U-turn near the end of the loop. Just a reminder for everyone that we're doing 3 loops here. So Liendo has really settled into his rhythm here now after that really strong start. He's kind of holding roughly 280 watts here, and I think this is, you can see he's on the orange bar there, so he's kind of like right at his threshold, and this makes sense. He might be able to pick it up a bit later at the end. I can see just behind him Gav Ash has started. So he's going out extremely hard as well to start. He was in the red, over 400, close to 500 watts, and he's now settling into more of his rhythm. So you can see in the orange again, kind of at that threshold level, around 350 to 370 watts. We talked about whether anyone would try and be tactical and perhaps log on later. I was wondering, would Gav try and perhaps have Wouter in front of him so he could see if he's gaining ground on him? But he's going to be our kind of early pacemaker, one would suspect. But he's looking very comfortable here at the minute. So we can see actually his cadence is really interesting. We can see the numbers there as well. It's quite low, 70 RPM. I know my knees wouldn't thank me for that, but looks to be no problem. He's holding his watts with no issue. So you can see Gav Ash has now actually overtaken Liendo, so he's now the first man on the course. He's got no more carrots to chase, but we know that he's going to be super motivated. As we said, he might be second place at the minute, but if he wins today, one of his other results will drop out of the score, and it depends on how Wouter does here. So it's very hard to be definitive on who needs to do what today. And I think we're just going to have to wait until the end, and I'm sure we'll all be on the edge of our seats. So you can see this is one of the sharpest bends on the course, but you can see Gav was able to take that bend without coming off the pedals at all, just maintained his power. He didn't go into the red, there was no auto braking applied. So looking very comfortable. So I see one of my MoonRider teammates in third rider on the road at the minute, Thomas Pontiowski. One of my favourite men to do the team time trial with. He's just super powerful but super steady. You know, never really surges, rides at a really steady tempo, and you get a great draft behind him. I'm just wondering, Riley, do you have any thoughts on kind of the cadence that some of these riders are putting out? I'm just noticing the 60 to 70 RPM for Gav Ash. Would you be able to maintain it? So I believe Riley's just off the desk at the minute, but as I mentioned, Gav Ash here, he's got everything to fight for still. He's only 20 points behind overall, and it's hard to really know how this will play out, so you've just got to give it everything until the line, but it's all about pacing it. So as we saw, Gav Ash was in the initial kind of few kilometers, was holding 350 to 370 watts. He's kind of brought it down to about 350, so he's probably found his zone now that he's happy with, that he's comfortable with, and that he thinks that he can hold for, I'm going to guess, about 27 minutes. That's kind of the time he should be looking for. It's the kind of lead times that we had from the earlier Pacific time slot. So just looking through the other riders, I know Leandro, he was riding at similar watts there to what he did at the start. And here's Tom, who I mentioned, our Polish powerhouse. Just a real strong diesel. This stage will really suit him, and just sits comfortably at 300 watts the whole time. And as I said, you want to do a team time trial with this guy. So smooth, and you get a great draft. It's a lot of fun. And we can see, just looking at Tom's cadence, it's much more in my range, where I would like to be, in that 80 to 90 range. So it's interesting to see just the different styles that are coming out from different riders, but all highly effective. You can see Tom's doing big watts too. He's sitting around 300 watts. So it's all horses for courses, and you know, everyone's got their own style. What about you, Riley? How would you ride this stage? Would you be trying to ride it as steady as possible, or would you have a target watts that you would try to be holding for half an hour? So I think Riley's just having some issue with his earphones, so you're going to have to bear with me for another while. So as I said, Tom's been a great guy in MoonRiders, not only for riding the team time trials and that, he's also been a great organizer of the tour here. He's come up with some of the fine artwork that you've seen, and hopefully our MoonRiders will be rewarded with, you know, that ever elusive team jersey on RGT after this, and Tom will be our designer of the jersey potentially, with his fine computer skills. So Tom has just come around one of the bottom bends, and so he's not actually now following the River Liffey. The River Liffey would be on his right hand side, and he's going to come back into the centre of Dublin at the minute. So he's actually not that far from the Guinness factory, so I'm sure hopefully all the riders here will enjoy a nice pint of the black stuff after they've finished. But you know, we had to bypass the route here just in case riders decided to jump off their bikes and maybe go for a quick stop to the pub, and we want them to finish the stage first. So Tom, as I mentioned, he's riding very steady, holding around those 300 watts. He's going to take a left-hand turn onto O'Connell Street here in Dublin, for anyone that's ever been before, just to let you know where we are. So he's going to take this left-hand turn off the river, and the finish of the 98th Tour de France stage is just about 500 meters away from here. So there would have been a give it everything you got here once you rounded this bend in 1998. And you finished just outside our General Post Office, a very historic site for anyone that ever wants to come visit Dublin. But instead, we're going to extend this to create a nice little loop, and we're going to do a U-turn. So you can see Magic Road has created, you know, the other side of O'Connell Street for us across those trees. We can see Gav Ash is just already past Tom on the other side of the road. But Tom's doing a lovely job here. Looks very comfortable. You can see his heart rate super steady as well while he's holding these watts. So you can tell that he's kind of in his real comfort zone. So I believe Riley is coming back to me now. Riley, I was just talking about the different styles of the riders. Now everyone seems to be riding very steadily, but we can see differences in the cadence. So Tom has my preferred cadence up in 80 to 90, whereas Gav Ash was riding around 60 to 70. I'm wondering, how would you attack this stage? Would you have it, whenever you're doing a time trial, do you kind of hold a set power? Do you just put it in whatever gear? Do you spin a gear?
I tend to be on the flatter stages trying to hit the 90 RPM. That seems to be the set favourite for most of the professionals. Whenever I'm going uphill, I can't help but drop the cadence a little bit, but yeah, I try and keep it a bit higher. I know on the track they're whacking out sort of 110, 120 as a norm, but I can't manage that sort of level.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting just to kind of have a look at the other riders as well, to see the different kind of styles that come through as we go back through the field. I wonder, I'm guessing all of our field have now started, but you're showing me here Dummer. I think he will be really motivated for this stage. We mentioned that he had technical issues earlier, but that won't matter as long as he has a good result today. That stage where he had the technical will fall out of his overall results, and he will be able to shoot up the rankings here hopefully, and he's doing a great performance here so far. So you can see about 320 watts he seems to be averaging, so he should slowly be able to reel in Tom just in front of him. And I suppose it's really motivating to have someone just in front of you like Tom, where he's going just a tiny bit slower than Dummer, so Dummer's always motivated. You can see that he's slowly creeping forward, so I think that's going to be really, really motivating for him. And you know, it gives you another distraction rather than just looking at the numbers and trying to suffer it. This is the great thing about RGT. You know, you just have that kind of visual, something visual to motivate you. So you can see there, if we look at the scoreboard, he was 50 meters behind Tom. He's brought it down to near 30 meters at the minute. So inch by inch, he's getting a bit closer and looking to be very comfortable. And we can see his cadence is up more in that kind of normal range where I would have expected around 80 to 85. And did we mention, Riley, that Dummer was in, he won't be able to win the silver standings, but he's doing very well in the silver standings. He's got a good chance for a podium, is that what I remember?
Yeah, he's challenging for it. I'll get the results back up in a second now. But yeah, he's had a really good performance in this series, and it was just a little bit upsetting for him that he'd had that missed stage, but as we mentioned on a few occasions, this 4 of 6 really works well for those technicals that, you know, they can't really be avoided at times, but also you've got problems in real life. We've all got jobs. We're not sitting on the turbo trainers 24/7 just waiting for the next race. So it just allows you that flexibility to deal with things in real life and still be able to compete.
Never mind normal lives, people have wives as well, so I'm sure plenty of the wives are happy that they don't have to compete in all 6 stages.
Yeah, I think my wife might like it if I did.
So we can see here Dummer, he's just making the catch on Tom. Hopefully this will motivate Tom here as well, not to let him just open a gap, stick with him. Obviously you can't get into the slipstream whenever we're doing a time trial on this, but just having that visual of someone going slightly faster can re-motivate you and just get you to up your pace a bit. So we'll see if Tom responds. I should just mention one other thing about Dummer there. He's from OTR, who maybe I've mentioned it before. I used to always think of them as our rivals in the team time trial, but MoonRiders and OTR are teaming up for a kind of festive series of rides during the kind of December period, and we're going to ask people for a voluntary donation to ride. You can ride one stage or all of the stages or the group rides, and the money's going to go to charity. So it'll be a nice thing from the RGT community if people could support that event. But as we go back through the field, we have Daniel Neusbauer. This is another strong rider, and whenever I look at the watts, I now see how strong a rider. He's kind of doing that 300 to 350 watt range, making good ground here on the field. Again, I think we mentioned it at the start, tactically is it easier starting a little later? You've got all these carrots to chase. So he's got Tom and is it Dummer in front of him. I know he'll be motivated to try and catch them before we come out. So you guys are about halfway through the stage here so far. It's a flat fast one today. I would say it'll take the top riders about 27 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes for the other good riders. I think any time under 30 minutes will be a fantastic time tonight. But Neusbauer, he's riding very comfortably. You can see no one seems to have made a mistake with their pacing so far. They're all sitting comfortably here. They kind of know what their thresholds are, what they can do for this half-hour effort. Very experienced riders, and everybody seems to be riding it very smoothly at the minute. So you can see we're just going up a very minor rise there, and you can see the power there of Neusbauer just shooting up a little. He went up to about 390, and now as we come back onto the flatter section, he's just brought it down to about 300 again. There'll be another slight rise before the only significant descent on this course, but I will say in comparison to all the stages they've done, they are completely insignificant, these small rises. I think riders might be glad of that. There were some painful stages earlier. And speaking of that, Riley, did you have any favourite stages so far from what you were, whenever you were commentating? Were there any that were the most exciting to watch?
This series has been really well put together. All of the stages have been really competitive. I think probably of the ones, stage 5 was the one that sort of just ended up on the line a bit closer for me. But it's been really enjoyable to watch, and it's just added in that little bit where, again, with the, I keep coming back to this point, with the stages being, you're dropping your weakest one, you're thinking you've won it, or the riders won and they're looking like they're in a good position. It's like, oh well, yeah, but the other guys just dropped that stage, so it's not really affected them as much as it would have done in a flat out stage. Just looking here is Neusbauer. Looks like he's going to be catching up to Dummer here. Dummer looks like he's solidly in second place in the silver. Steenley, I've not seen Steenley yet on the list. Steenley is winning that category, but I don't think Dummer can lose second place. Francois Rijker's in third. I don't think there's a possibility for him to overhaul Dummer unless it goes really crazy. I'm just going to flick back and try and find Gav Ash and see how he's getting on. I've just seen Zach Karner is in this as well, so I'm going to try and flick to him as well in a moment. So we'll just have a flick about, because I've not been around many of the riders recently.
Yeah, It'll be interesting if we go back to Gavash. Whenever we get back to him, he was holding about 350 watts whenever we last left him, so he's still holding very close to it, about 340 now, so it's dropped marginally, but not by much. It seems to be pacing it really, really well, and as I said, I'm just super intrigued by his cadence, but it works for him. He's putting out a lot more watts than I can. But yeah, no, looking super, super comfortable here with no real issues. So he's just about to come to the end of his second lap here. So he's kind of getting around the last bend. He'll go underneath the banner now in, I would say, about 5 seconds. And I make out that it's about 18 minutes to there, roughly 18 and a half minutes. We can see he's going to the banner. It's hard to know exactly when Gavash started, but maybe 18 and a half minutes, so 9:15 per lap. This is looking like a great time. As I said, it's putting him at kind of the times we were predicting from some of the strong riders that did the Pacific time slot this morning. So he should be there or thereabouts by the time this is all over. He just needs to maintain that form. Doing a great job here so far. As we can see, his power is just dropping slightly, but I suspect he knows that there's only 9 more minutes of pain. I will be expecting him to be able to increase that power again and just motor on.
Just going to try and find Zach Harner. Compare powers, because I think Zach's going to be challenging on this. There's Steve Braley as well. I mentioned him earlier on. He's been doing pretty well in the silver competition, but not quite there. And there's Steenley, who is in the... Oh, Casper Hedendam. I didn't notice him before. He's looking strong.
Yeah. Oh, and look, I would say both of these riders, he's got Wouter just in front of him. As I said, there's no drafting, it's all turned off, but they are going to match each other until one of them collapses, I suspect. They're very evenly matched, and I just don't see either one of them letting the other pull away. So we can see, just in comparison to Gavash, I think for the first 2 laps probably averaged about 350 watts. You can see Hedendam here. Casper, he's eased off a little here at the minute, but he's in around that 350 range as well. So both these riders are going to be coming up to the end of their second lap as well. It'll happen just in about 15 seconds or so. It's hard to know exactly what time is on their elapsed clock because all the riders start at intervals. But as I mentioned, I suspected that these two, neither would let each other pull away. And you can see Casper is just sitting behind Wouter here at about 10 meter range. And I think just motivationally, he might make it past him here now. So he's closed the gap. And we can see, just looking at the bars underneath the names, for people that aren't used to watching RGT, yellow, orange is kind of around your FTP or threshold kind of level, and then in the red is whenever you're going well above kind of that zone, maybe 6 kind of level. So it would be unsustainable, but that kind of high yellow to orange colour is probably what you're trying to hold here if you can. You know, it has been 6 stages, legs are getting tired at the end of this tour, and then there are madmen here that are even doing other races during the week as well. They just can't get enough of the online racing. But you can see Hedendam closed the gap down to Wouter. Wouter responded. As I say, it's not, you know, these two riders trying to break away from each other and go, you know, not trying to let someone draft them. It's just that they're so evenly matched here, and as I said, it'll be motivating for both of them to be beside each other on this stage. But as I said, it looks like they might be going a bit slower than Gav Ash, as I mentioned, he was average probably about 350 watts for the first 2 laps. These guys, it looks like they're doing a little less. And Headedam, he looks like he's got the highest cadence of all the riders that we've seen so far. He's up around that 95 range. Maybe he is a track rider, as you mentioned. The track riders like to be up over that 100 RPM whenever they're doing the pursuit often. He might have a bit of a background in it.
Casper is a triathlete. He's been performing quite well in real life, and I think he's having a good season this year. He's just come off some competition. He had a little bit of a cool down period, I think, and he's back into racing for the ECKD club, the Electro Cycle Club Denmark, the E-Cycle Club Denmark is the name, and they have a big club and it's very competitive, and Casper's right up at the top of those competitors. He's a good rider.
Yeah, no, all the Danish riders on RGT seem to be exceptionally strong, but we must not just call them out for their ability to ride bikes. They also promote a great series of races on RGT as well. That is a very high standard. But I'm kind of afraid here, Riley, if you're telling me that this is Casper not in form, this is him kind of in his off-season period, I'm afraid.
He's coming back into form. He'd done some competitions in real life, and then he'd eased off a little bit, sort of you call it tapering. So, but I think he's coming back. This is near his good period. I wouldn't be surprised if he can improve even more on this. But yeah, when you see him in a race, he's certainly one to watch, because he just doesn't give up. He just carries on fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and you just gotta watch every single move that he does, because he always tries to make them stick.
Yeah, well, I only joined you for one stage in this tour, Riley, but that was what was so impressive by his ride in stage 4. He attacked, he was brought back, someone would counter-attack, he would bridge across solo, and then whenever they got caught, he would attack again. Like, he really never gave up. It's really interesting to watch, and very, very impressive.
These guys look like they're locked in a pretty tight battle. I'm going to try and hunt down Zach Harner now and see what kind of wattage he's putting out. Got 3.5k left to go for these guys. I think Gav Ash will be close to finishing now as well.
Oh, so Riley, I have to hand you credit. You seem to know who the strong men are. So I'm not aware of Zach Harner myself, but these watts look incredible. They're 350 to 400 watts. Very, very impressive. So he's coming close to the finish. And he doesn't have that many riders in front of him. He only has Wilkinson and Gav Ash, so he has, and Neusbauer as well. So he's really come through the field here. And I think at this stage the riders know, okay, it's not that long left to the finish, 2 kilometers. I can hold on, I can hold my watts. I know that it's about 3 minutes of pain. So I know that I can hold these watts for 3 minutes. So you can see, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the riders are kind of aiming for that yellow to orange bar to be just around your FTP kind of effort. You might be able to go just above your FTP now. Just give it everything you've got to the finish. So we can see Gav Ash here, he's starting to suffer. I think he's starting to tie up a little, Riley, in my impression. We can't tell. We don't have a camera on Gav Ash's face to see what sort of expressions he's pulling. But as I say that, his watts have crept back up to 350. Maybe he's listening to us and I'm motivating him here. But, you know, he's only got 500 meters to go. He's got round that U-bend. He's got one kind of sharp right-hand corner where there will be the auto braking applied. but he just needs to give it everything he's got, everything to play for here. If he wins this stage, he has a good chance of leapfrogging Wouter in the overall standards, in the overall table. So this is looking like a fantastic ride. He is around, he's going to be under 28 minutes, I suspect. It's hard to know exactly because I don't know what time he started at exactly, but it will be a 27 something ride. So chapeau Gavash, that's a fantastic tour you've put together with a great final stage.
Got to fly quickly around all of the riders to get back up to the front. It didn't let me go backwards.
So here's Wouter. So Neusbauer, as we mentioned, he might get overtaken by Horner. He has indeed. And we can see how fast Neusbauer is going. Near 400 watts to finish. He's given it everything he can. Just goes to show you how strong Horner is riding to be able to have caught him and got past him. But we're coming to the very end here. The lads are just going to sprint with whatever they have left around these final bends. So 100 meters to go. You called this man, Riley, as one of the favourites earlier. You knew that you had to watch out for him. Horner looks to have done a very impressive ride, and I think Daniel Neusbauer will be very happy with that as well. And now we've got Dummer, who was riding exceptionally well, we saw earlier. He's going to come home, and we think that he will be safe in second place in the silver jersey. He should be delighted with his tour. Now we've got Steinle here. I think this is our leader in the silver jersey. Is that correct, Riley?
Yeah, Steinle is leading.
So I think he is untouchable from whenever you showed me the tables earlier in the stage. So big congratulations to Steinle. He is third overall in the, including in the gold jersey. So very impressive performance. Hopefully he can hold on to his podium position. And here's Big Tom. As I mentioned, one of my favourite riders to sit behind. And another Moon Rider here, we have Daniel Schuch, who is an honorary Irish man, so he'll be delighted to be finishing in Dublin. He loves a bit of Irish music. And we just see Hededam and Wouter finishing. It maybe wasn't clear, but Hededam jumped past Wouter in the sprint finish. As we mentioned, they were riding together side by side almost for most of the last lap.
Oh, this is very interesting. I'm trying to see whether this is updated live, but it looks like Gav Ash. Oh, he's still waiting on Wouter's time updating. Currently, Gav Ash's time is in the finishers, and Gav has jumped into the first place in the series. I'm still waiting now to see whether we're still waiting on Wouter's final time to be added. To see who has won here.
Yeah, I don't think Wouter will. Well, you know, he's a very well-mannered guy. I'm sure he'll be delighted for Gavash if he does take it. But I know he's been very determined to take this stage race. He's performed exceptionally, so he'll be disappointed. And I'm sure MoonRiders would have loved to have had a home victory. And we have John Stevens here finishing now as well. Another very strong rider that has recently signed for MoonRiders. And who is here? Orquez. I think I've seen him in the stage 4 as well, so it's great to see the names really sticking and trying to ride as many stages as they could. So Ebeline here, he's only got 100 meters or so left to go. He just needs to give it everything he can to the line. And we can see he's doing just that, over 500 watts here. It's tough work doing that at the end of a threshold session for about half an hour. So, chapeau, sir, as they say.
So currently, I'm looking at the updated results. Casper Hededam has managed to ride 4 of the 6 races, which I hadn't realised, and has snuck into 2nd place. With Wouter's result from tonight, he has gone into 1st place.
So, just to confirm, so provisionally it looks like Wouter has won it, Casper Hededam is 2nd, and Gavash has been knocked down into 3rd place.
That's the way it's looking currently, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, hang on. Am I looking at... No, yeah. That's how it's looking. I'll bring it up on the big screen in a little while.
Yeah, I suppose we should stress that I think these results are provisional.
Yeah.
But very, very interesting. Just goes to show with this format, where you only have to race 4 of the 6. Anything can happen at the end, and it's almost impossible to predict. So I like that we finished with a time trial, because you just have to give it everything to the line, because you really don't know all the different permutations.
Well, it's keeping it interesting for me, because I'm still staring at the table trying to figure out what's possible, what's going on. And it's not like you're in a bunch sprint and the guy that's going over the line has won it. We're still going to have to go back to the tables and check.
Yeah, and I should have checked this before I came online, but I think for this final ITT stage, is it that if you rode in the Pacific time slot or in the American time slot, your time will still count for the European series? I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'm just wondering if there could be, adjustments later depending on...
We're going to have to check on these results.
But in any case, I suspect that it's only ever going to be between Wouter, Gavash and Hededam, and they're all here tonight. So I have a feeling that the results that you're coming up with provisionally will be the final results. So very exciting. We kind of need Stephen Hawking or some other mathematical genius to come in, a statistical genius, to really have went through all the different combinations and possibilities at the start of the night, because it's hard to believe Casper has come out of nowhere and robbed poor Gavash, because it looked like he rode a superb performance here tonight as well.
Yeah, it did. It doesn't look like... Yep, in fact, Zach Harner was the actual winner of the stage so far from the looks of things. Hededam was coming in 2nd and Woods came in 3rd.
And Riley, perhaps, I haven't seen Zach in any of my races that I've been doing, and I haven't followed all the stages of this tour. Maybe you seem to know that he was going to be one of the favourites for the stage once you saw him on the start list. He's obviously got an impressive palmares on RGT, does he?
No, he's fairly new rider to me. The last time he turned up in the race, a couple of riders commented on the fact that he was a man to watch, and that his power was phenomenal. So as soon as I saw him in this stage, it was like, could be one that plays to his strengths here.
Yeah, this is a real just power man's course. It's as flat as you get. You can see you climb about 100 meters over the 20 kilometers. So not pancake flat, but as flat as you'll get in the MoonRiders tour anyway. And with no real technical turns, it was all about just riding big, steady power there. So yeah, would have suited him perfectly. So I wonder if anyone's listening to us, any of the leaders like Wouter or Gavash, if they want, I wonder, can they send us a message on Discord to let us know how thought of the tour, if they're delighted with the result. And maybe I'll let you discuss the table here, Riley.
Yeah, so this is looking live. We've got stage 6 there up on the right hand side. We can see the Wouter with a point score of 180 on this stage, which equates to 3rd place. Casper coming in at 190, and Gavash came in at 165 there, and that was one of his lowest results from the series, so that's been discounted. Casper, I didn't think he'd done enough stages to count, but he has just managed to sneak enough in there, and he's beaten Gav by the margin of 2 points. That's a fine margin. That must be... You're not going to be happy if you're Gav. It's a bit of a punishing loss on that last stage. But it is a course that plays to Casper's strengths. So had I been looking at that and the start list, I would have been concerned. Casper against any of the riders in this event, this race, it would have been a challenge to beat him. But if we look further down, if it'll allow me to move.
It reminds me a little, Riley, you talk about Gavash just losing his 2nd place. It reminds me a lot of Roglic in the final time trial in the Tour de France, whenever his compatriot beat him. It's kind of sickening to lose it just right near the end.
That was heartbreaking. And to see, it was Tom Dumoulin, and who was his other teammate? Was it
Wout van Aert was there as well that year.
Yeah, to see them looking on and just the disbelief in their faces, it was just amazing. But it was really good to see the way that he congratulated him after the race, even though he was gutted about losing. But to see him go up and congratulate him, but yeah, it was an amazing finish to the tour and an amazing finish to the MoonRiders tour.
Yeah, no, I think it really kept the excitement right to the end. But maybe you want to discuss some of the other results down here that maybe didn't get the attention as we were going through because of the exciting battle at the front. Are there any standout performers here that you'd like to mention?
I'm just going to bring it through on the big screen again for myself. So we had Stephen Brearley in that race. Daniel Schock coming in I think that's 4th position that he's managed there. That's a really good position for him. I believe, as you were saying, a lot of the MoonRiders have been racing for Wouter all the way through this series, and that kind of indicates a bit more of perhaps what Daniel's capable of if he was racing for himself. And Terry Wilkinson's playing a good time as well. Yeah, there's been some really great races there. Nice to see everyone putting the time in and the effort in on that last race. Just gonna check back. Have you had any shout?
Sorry, Riley, I couldn't hear you.
Have you had anyone contact him from Discord?
Yeah, Wider just come on to me and he says he's very happy. He was listening to us and he was a little scared. He said we were trying to estimate the times and based on the kind of powers that we were seeing that riders were doing. And as I mentioned, Gavash seemed to be holding about 350 watts. He was maybe a little afraid that he wasn't doing enough on the stage, but he's delighted overall.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been a good series. So we've got the Heroica series coming up soon from the MoonRiders.
Yeah, so it's another new series starting next week. Only 1 day a week, but similar format. I think it's spread over 12 weeks, so it'll get you right through the winter season. Only 8 of them to count overall. And what we're going to do is, instead of riding on magic roads, we're going to ride on all the real roads that RGT have to offer. So there's a bit of everything there for everyone. There are, crits around Canary Wharf. and Tempelhof. There are obviously mountain stages, and then just the rolling circuits as well. So it should be really interesting, a little bit of something for everything, and hopefully people like this format, and this one will be a success as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I can see that it's starting off on the Iron Horse course, which is a really beautiful course to ride on. It's really nice scenery on that one. It just brings it to life.
It is indeed. I suppose one other thing I just want to mention about our winner here, Wilder Claes. I want to mention one of his, he seems to be a bit of a coding genius. For anyone also like me, but that's into the pro cycling and thinks that they know the score, Wilder comes up with he's got a great forecasting game, particularly for like the Tour de France and Giro. So maybe whenever we come to a Grand Tour, look out for it in the Discord channel, and he's got a great little forecasting game.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, we'll have to give us a shout on it when it's live, and we'll get out on the Instagram, get out on the Facebook pages, and try and get a good crew involved in it.
Yeah, the only thing is you have to be good at speaking a little bit of Flemish, or just using Google Translate, but it's fairly kind of intuitive.
Yeah,
the Belgians are taking
Google
over.
Translate for me.
So I have to say, Riley, some great coverage that you've had over the whole tour. Thanks very much for covering it from the MoonRiders perspective. It was great. I think it added a lot to it.
No, it's been fantastic. It's been fun to cover it. It's been a really enjoyable series. I've enjoyed watching it as well as commentating on it.
Yeah, and I think as our first series from MoonRiders, I think we're delighted with it, and we'll take any kind of feedback that people have as well, if they want to give us some on what they liked or what they would like to see changed for future kind of iterations as well. It's a great thing about the community, you know, people are always very responsive, and RGT platform, you can kind of be creative as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of freedom on the RGT platform. It's great to see the fact that you brought out the categorizations for the events as well, which means that you've got the races within the races, where we were looking at Steenley and Ryan Dummer still competing within the race. They weren't involved in the gold classifications per se, but well, Steenley was quite close up there. But yeah, it was good to see that they were still racing for the silver jersey. It's fantastic to see that, and the mountain jersey and the sprinters jersey in there. It's worth mentioning as well, for anyone that's perhaps not in the European time zone, there is still the Americas time zone to go. It is being streamed live on VCN Facebook page this evening and on the YouTube channel. It's great to see more and more people taking part in the Americas time zones. We're trying to build on that area. I mean, there's a lot of people in America, not enough of them on RGT. So hopefully you'll catch that, have a look at what it's all about, and maybe take part in the next series.
Yeah, well, with that, Riley, I'm going to bid you adieu, and I'll let you take the rest of the stream through to the finale. But thanks very much for letting me come on and guest commentate with you. I really enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure, Ross. I'll have you back anytime.
Ciao.
Ciao. So that's it for us, guys, for another night. It's been great to have you along. Hope you've enjoyed the racing. It was really interesting tonight. It really came down to the wire. Really tight finish. Thought that Gav might have had that in the bag, but it was close with Wouter, and then there was the surprise appearance of Casper Hededam to disturb all the results. But great watching it. Kept it interesting till the very last second, and we hope you catch up with the Heroica event from the MoonRiders guys, and they've also got their charity event that's going on. If you check it out in the app, I'm sure that'll be streamed live at some point as well. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the stream, if you hit the like and subscribe button, and if you haven't, don't. Take care. Bye.